No gold star needed. The day before the Real ID deadline, the TSA announces some flexibility. What you need to know before flying out of RDU.
Teachers pushing back. The Wake School Board wants to slash the budget, forcing schools to make hard decisions. We're live with the new talks happening today.
Dry and warm for now. I'm tracking how cool we'll feel overnight and in the morning before our next weather maker brings us a chance for rain.
Let's start tonight by getting real. The Real ID deadline is tomorrow, and since the DMV is closed for the day, if you don't have one, you will miss that deadline. But what does that mean exactly? Well, we've been telling you for weeks, years actually, but we're going to get into that in a minute. The White House said no more delays. Tomorrow is the day. You need a Real ID or you can't board a plane. It caused panic and stress. People missing work to wait in long lines at the DMV, some with desperate and heartbreaking stories.
That I am trying to get my Real ID so I can fly to California to be with my parents as my mom dies from cancer. I can get on the plane, but I'm not sure if I can come home.
So that was Kathleen Barden. Maybe Washington was listening to people like her. Or maybe they realized that overnight we'd be barring millions of people from traveling, creating devastating issues for families and businesses and airlines. Who's to know? They didn't really explain. But it does bring us to our quote of the day. They may be diverted to a different line or have an extra step, but people will be allowed to fly. That's what Kristi Noem said today. She heads the Department of Homeland Security, explaining that, on second thought, you don't really need a Real ID to fly after all. So obviously the messaging has relaxed a bit, but travelers have not. We all still have a lot of questions. If you don't need a Real ID, what do you need? Just the license you were using before, something else, something extra? And what about all those extra steps that you may need to take? Well, we sent WRAL's Sean Gallagher into the lines of the TSA to find out for us.
It should be the golden ticket to fly, but it's feeling more like fool's gold after the TSA makes the announcement that those without a Real ID should be fined to fly the skies. For the most part, people are prepared. Do you have your Real ID by any chance?
Yes, sir.
Yeah?
I have every ID possible.
And have been for some time.
Hey, a while ago, actually.
A while, like months?
Yes.
Yeah.
2 years.
TSA says 81% of flyers have either Real ID or another federally approved ID.
I'm just going to use my passport.
Military. Okay. But there are about 1 in 5 people who drop the ball.
Yeah. 99%. Yeah. Gonna get on that.
But TSA spokesperson Dan Velez says those without the proper ID can relax.
You'll be identified as non-compliant. You'll be pulled off to the side and possibly go through additional screening.
Which is a relief for people like Kathleen Barden.
I was here till 5 o'clock yesterday and I did not get seen.
And then today you're just starting over.
And today I'm starting over.
She's one of the dozens I've met who feel they've wasted time waiting in DMV lines across the state. Time she just doesn't have.
My mom has entered palliative care. She's dying from cancer. She's 87 years old. So I really need to take that flight now, today.
With tomorrow marking the start of Real ID, she was unsure if she'd be able to return. But this news from TSA will allow her to find closure.
That's huge. I really appreciate the flexibility, and I need to go say goodbye to my mom.
So when she returns, it shouldn't be a problem. Velez tells me they will have people plucking non-compliant passengers from the TSA lines to be taken elsewhere for more verification screening.
The security screening will be a lot longer than someone who is coming through with just a regular driver's license that is not Real ID compliant.
So you will be able to get through, but give yourself some extra time. Velez wouldn't give us any estimates for how long it could take with these new processes, but it's a real possibility you could miss a flight with those extra screenings. At RDU, Sean Gallagher, WRAL News.
All right, there you have it. Thank you to Sean. Let's summarize. You don't have to have a Real ID. You can still use your North Carolina's driver's license, and you could get plucked out of line, meaning it may take a little longer for you to get through security. That said, you should still get a Real ID, which has proven almost impossible because our DMV is objectively an overwhelmed mess. But a viewer named Wim sent me a pretty good point. He said the perception is to blame the DMV. However, shouldn't most of the blame be on the people that have waited so long? And he's right, And he's not talking about waiting in line. He's talking about the fact you've had almost a decade to get this done. Though, to be fair, it hasn't been that simple. So let's take a look at how we got here. Real ID was one of the many ideas that came from the aftermath of 9/11. The hijackers boarded the planes using driver's licenses and state ID cards. So in 2005, Congress passed the REAL ID Act with the goal to make identification more secure.
Issuing driver's licenses to anyone without knowing whether they're here legally or who they really are is an open invitation for terrorists and criminals to hide in plain sight.
The first deadline was for 2008, but not everyone was on board.
Literally sets up the backbone for a system to track all Americans throughout their lives, their movements, where they're going to, where they're coming from.
Implementing Real ID would cost states tens of millions of dollars, and the Real ID Act didn't provide those funds to the states. So state lawmakers responded by rejecting Real ID. New Hampshire was the first to do it.
I don't believe that the people of New Hampshire elected us to help the federal government create a national identification card.
North Carolina tried in 2008, but the bill failed. A challenge from Maine led to the first delay, pushing the deadline to 2010 and then to 2011. And it was in 2011 that North Carolina again tried to reject Real ID. Once again, that bill failed. President Obama issued the next delay, pushing Real ID back to 2013 and then again to 2014, all because more and more states raised concerns. By 2015, 18 states had laws against Real ID, refusing to bow to an unfunded federal mandate.
If they do spend their taxpayer dollars on compliance, they're committing themselves forevermore to obey federal mandates coming out of Washington.
In 2017, North Carolina fell in line, starting a statewide rollout for the Real ID. But other states kept asking for more extensions, and they got their wish. A new deadline set for October 2020. Needless to say, another delay was put in place.
Coronavirus is now touching all of our lives. It's pervasive in what it means to our daily work lives.
President Trump pushing Real ID to 2021. But COVID-19 wasn't finished with us just yet. So President Biden delayed to 2023 and then again to May 7th, 2025. Now, all 50 states are compliant, offering people a way to get their Real ID. And if they don't, their trip through security could be, well, delayed.
What will happen tomorrow is folks will come through the line and will be issue their ID and show it. If it's not compliant, they may be diverted to a different line, have an extra step, but people will be allowed to fly.
And that's how we got here. So, what should you do if you still need a Real ID? Well, go get one. But again, a viewer named Marchetta explains how difficult that can be. She said, my husband and I would like to get a license or Real ID, but when I went to the website, I found that most of the sites within 50 miles of us are not taking appointments. And we logged on there too, to the website today, and we could not find a single available appointment anywhere in the state for the next 3 months. Not even in the Outer Banks if you were looking for an excuse to go to the beach. Sorry. So let's help each other out. Shall we? Do you know something? Can you help me? Do you have any hacks that we could share? What has worked for you when you went to go get your Real ID? When's the best time to log on and look for an appointment? Is there a time of day that's best that they post the new availability, anything like that? Is there something you can do at the DMV to nab a canceled appointment or to book something in the afternoon? We're going to do our best to look into this and ask them and try and get those answers. But if you have some tips, share them. Let us know. Email me, dan@WRAL.com. Tell me what is on your mind, and we will go in depth. In the meantime, let's go outside. Kat Campbell on the WRAL weather patio. A bit of a cooler night tonight. Beautiful outside, though.
It's a glorious evening out here. Just so comfortable right now in the shade. 54 degrees our low tonight. So we're actually going to be cooling off quite a bit, but the humidity is low. So the air has that crisp feel. Open up your windows, let in some fresh air. The good news is the pollen isn't so bad now that we're in the month of May, so you can get the fresh air in the house. 49 in Roxborough tonight, upper 40s. It could be in the upper 40s in parts of Chatham County as well as some of the Sand Hills. 54 in Raleigh, 52 in Rocky Mount and Durham, 55 for the low in Clinton tonight. At the bus stop, it'll be comfortably cool to start the day tomorrow. But tomorrow's our last morning in the 50s for a couple days at least. We'll be back in the 60s at the bus stop Thursday and Friday. And as our temperatures go up, so will rain chances. I'll have a closer look at when rain could creep back into the forecast coming up.
All right, talk to you then. Thank you, Kat. Meantime, let's roll through some of the big headlines today. Here are the 5 things you should know right now. A 15-year-old girl is charged with murdering a teenage boy. This happened in Durham on North Holman Street, right off of North Alston Avenue. The boy was taken to a nearby hospital by car where he died. The female suspect, we know, is in custody. Raleigh police are looking for a man accused of robbing a bank this afternoon. It happened at the Wells Fargo on Forest Pines Drive around 2 o'clock. Police say the man demanded money and then ran off with some cash. He said he had a weapon, but no one actually saw it. A police chase involving a stolen U-Haul was caught on camera. Check out this video sent to us by a viewer of the incident. You can see that U-Haul truck making the U-turn right in the middle of Rayford Road in Cumberland County. This is the end of it, Sky 5, over the area where the truck finally came to a stop in the driveway of a home. The suspect apparently took off running, but officers caught up with him, making the arrest. Today, Raleigh City Council decided to move forward with a plan to put a toll on part of Capitol Boulevard. This would apply to a 10-mile stretch of busy road there, adding to the NC Turnpike system. The goal is to eliminate traffic backups on that road. The state estimates the toll will generate about, well, they say nearly $1.5 billion in revenue. State lawmakers want to make it easier for people to resell tickets that you buy to sporting events or concerts, that sort of thing. They propose prohibiting ticket companies from placing limits on where resell can happen and where you can resell those tickets, which sites you can use. The bill passed a committee today. Supporters say this would keep ticket prices down. Opponents, though, say that this could hurt things like smaller venues in North Carolina. For this bill to have a shot at becoming law, though, it must pass the full House by Thursday. We'll keep an eye on it. We have another interesting bill coming out of the legislature tonight. And if it passes, the state could fine you for your trash, not for putting the cans out on the wrong day or anything like that. I'm talking about litter. North Carolina spends $50 million a year cleaning it up. So let's talk about a proposed solution tonight in our One Last Thing. But first, some proposed solutions for Wake County schools. A pretty big budget shortfall is on the way, and the school board has some ideas to account for that. The cuts they're considering right after the break. Let's talk about our schools here, because in the next 15 minutes, Wake County school leaders are expected to vote on a new budget. And tonight, we're taking a closer look at how it could affect your child's education, basically. Aaron Thomas is live outside of the Board of Education headquarters. Aaron, the district says there will be no cuts to teachers, but there's always something proposed, some type of cuts to save some money. What are they proposing to cut?
Yeah, so before we get into that, Dan, of course, I do want to mention that we did step out of this meeting, but those conversations related to passing a budget happening right now as we speak. I actually have my second phone in my hand. You can see this live stream that's happening right now as they discuss how difficult it was making these decisions. You had one board member saying that this was not a perfect budget, and then Board Chair Haggerty saying that they have to be realistic and responsible with their spending, considering how much limited funding there is on the state level and then how much inadequate funding there is on the federal level. When it comes to trimming fat, these are some of the positions that they're looking at making proposed cuts to. Again, no teacher positions according to the school leaders, but they say they are looking at counselor positions as well as school supplies as potential areas of worth cutting.
So how much money is the district seeking to get here from county leaders?
Yeah, so we can show our viewers here on screen, because of course there are a lot of numbers to get into. So as it stands, the school district is proposing about $742 million for the 2025-2026 school year. That is, of course, $40 million more from what they requested last year. But we learned just yesterday from Wake County Manager David Ellis that they're willing to provide a $35 million increase, but that's about $5 million short of what the school district's asking for. Of course, that money has to come from somewhere, which is why we're talking about these proposed cuts at the moment.
So when you bring these cuts up to the educators you're talking to, or any of the parents who have showed up there, how are they reacting to this news?
Yeah, so of course, a lot of these parents, it was a great showing, a lot of them wearing red in support of several educators. A lot of them want what's best for their students, and of course they're also monitoring what's going on both on the federal and state level, but they're worried about this trickle down effect, especially as it relates to educators. If you get rid of some of the resources that are necessary for them to keep going, they wonder what that means for the students in the classroom. You can take a listen from one particular parent who spoke during the public comment period.
If we continue to strip away resources and support systems that ultimately sustain them, we risk losing educators that are really the backbone of our schools. If we truly appreciate teachers, we must show it through meaningful action, not just during Teacher Appreciation Week, but every week.
And of course, these conversations are still ongoing. Many options were considered at this point. Of course, they've been trying to find some equal level playing field between the superintendent, what he was proposing, and then the board members. But they have explored some options that are estimated to save the school district about $4 million. Of course, we hope to bring you a decision that was made sometime, if not on air, of course, online at WRAL.com.
All right. Aaron, thank you. We appreciate you stepping out of the meeting here to give us a report here at 7 o'clock, but we'll let you get back inside because I know there's going to be more reports tonight at 10 and 11. So thank you to Aaron. Appreciate that. Now, this was a unique thing today, a 3.0 magnitude earthquake shaking parts of Virginia today. It struck about 55 miles west of Richmond around 1 o'clock this afternoon. The USGS, the United States Geological Survey, they reported this earthquake in Virginia there Tuesday afternoon, a Richter scale of 3.0 magnitude, which is often felt by people, so it's strong enough that you'll feel it, but it's very rare that an earthquake of that magnitude would cause any damage. We actually heard from a WRAL viewer who reported being up there in that area and feeling the earthquake. Meteorologist Kat Campbell joining us outside right now. It's not unheard of to have earthquakes up there, but certainly a shock when you feel one in Virginia.
Oh, yeah, and I had Mr. Tucker, the viewer that reached out to me to tell me that they had an earthquake. It originally went on as a 2.8 earthquake, and the USGS upgraded that to a 3.0 earlier. It just seems like lately there's been a whole lot of seismic activity across the country and really across the globe. Luckily, all is quiet here at home. The ground is steady right now, 77 degrees, a beautiful evening out here on the WRAL weather patio. This would be another good place to be, the Longleaf Golf and Family Club in Southern Pines, looking bright and beautiful this evening, 77 degrees. The dew point in Southern Pines is in the upper 40s. That means it feels crisp. It feels spectacular. When your dew point's in the 40s and 50s, it really feels great outside. Not too dry and not too humid. Tomorrow morning, we'll be off to a nice, comfortably cool and sunny start. We'll be partly cloudy by the afternoon. And notice the cloud cover in the southern part of our viewing area, closer to Fayetteville and the Sandhills by the afternoon. We will watch in those communities for maybe a quick passing shower late afternoon into the evening. It's only a 20% chance that would be south of the Triangle. And then we watch Thursday morning with some fronts coming closer to us. We'll have some energy in place. It looks like the bulk of our chances for any hit or miss thunderstorms would come later Thursday in the evening and Thursday night. It's a 20% chance a little bit earlier on, but that chance goes up to 50% Thursday night. So here's the highlighted area with that 20% chance for rain tomorrow. 83 the high in Raleigh tomorrow, 84 in Fayetteville, 80 in Roxborough. It's a nice warm day, but the humidity will stay low tomorrow. That is key. And if you want to head out and enjoy the nice weather, it'll be a great day to head to the playground with your family. 58 degrees at 8 a.m. So we are off to a cooler start tomorrow morning. It should be really nice out there. 77 by noon, and then during the afternoon, 83, that 20% chance for rain in our southern counties by 4 o'clock. 83 will be the high both tomorrow and Thursday. It'll be a little bit warmer than today, but not too bad humidity-wise by any means. Thursday, we'll have that chance go up to about a 50% chance of rain and storms that night. Friday, perhaps an isolated thunderstorm sticking around. And then let's talk about Mother's Day weekend for a minute, because the 7-day forecast here, it looks pretty good. 74 Saturday, mostly cloudy, and Sunday, 78 for Mother's Day, and partly cloudy. However, I do want to let you know a caveat here. We've got a system pretty close by to us. Right now, the new models all day have kept all the rain out of here, but given how close it is, it's a bit suspiciously close that it could stall or come a little bit closer to us, so stay tuned for updates. It's only Tuesday, and of course we're talking about Sunday is the high impact day for Mother's Day, so I just want to give you that heads up. Rain chances do go up early next week, Dan.
Kat, the family was looking to do a little picnic on Sunday. When do you think we'll know more specifics about that weather coming in?
I think by Thursday for sure. Hopefully we'll have a little bit better of an idea starting tomorrow. So we'll keep you up to date. We're hoping that all the moms can get out there for picnics and all the fun things to do outside.
Sounds good. Thank you, Kat. So one last thing to talk about tonight. It involves fines for your litter that can only mean one thing: the return of Trashy. That's after the break. One last thing we want to mention. North Carolina lawmakers have like 1 million things to consider this session. A little less than 1 million, I'm sure, but it sure feels that way. Anyway, one of them involves cleaning up trash around our state. Today, the state Senate voted unanimously to let officials hold people accountable for littering. So if trash with your name on it gets picked up by roadside crews, you will be subject to criminal charges and fines. Those labeled items could be anything like bank statements to prescription bottles. Fines could range from a few $100s to a few thousand. Now, I don't know if you support this idea or not, but I'm betting Trashy does. He is my alter ego who's very passionate about keeping our community litter free. He also loves Mountain Dew, West Virginia, and amazing hair. We appreciate you being with us here tonight on WRAL News, making us your choice for local news. On 10 o'clock on Fox 50 is our next newscast. We'll see you then, and then right back here on WRAL tonight at 11. Beautiful sunset at White Lake. Have a great night.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.